But today we're going to talk about a way of taking action that you maybe have not given yourself full permission for. And that's what my little rambly intro was trying to get at. I'm having this conversation repeatedly with clients where I'm saying, the thing that's missing here is the permission piece. Like, I've got clients who have made millions of dollars in their businesses or who have regular 6-figure months. And then I've also got clients who are really early on, brand new into business and have just invested in working with me and want to like get it right and be held to that fire and flow that is them being them from the get-go. And then anything in between. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter where somebody is at financially. The kind of people who are attracted to working with me and who God has put me here to work with and help, it doesn't matter where they're at, how much money they've made. It can be like anything on the whole radar. And I'm still going to end up having that same conversation with them relevant to what's going on right now, which is around the permission piece. And so I'll frequently be saying something to somebody like, this is about the fact that there's a permission piece that you've not yet given yourself, that you get to be who you really are. One of my male clients was saying to me just now on an audio, I just listened just now whenever he said it, that, yeah, he's had like all these big months and everything and that sort of stuff, which I was already aware of, and he's a new client, and that, what was he saying? Something like he's not consistent, right? So he was talking about being this kind of person, like highly creative, putting things out there all the time. And he said, the issue is that he's just not consistent. And I was like, well, I think the issue is there's a permission piece that's not quite dropped in there around the fact that it's not about being consistent in keeping with marketing or so-called business rules or anything that makes sense, because what you are consistent as is you are consistently being you. You are consistently being the kind of marketer or entrepreneur or leader or coach or what have you that you were put here to be. But because there's a slight issue there with permission that this is okay and it is allowed, and I get to unapologetically show up as this person who kind of is like here and then there and then there and then all over the place, that's what's actually holding things up. And I see that hold things up with people who, like this person, are well underway already with their business. Like, he's very established, has made real money, he's a leader. And then I see it with people who are more early on, like out of the starting gates, and really deeply questioning, why they don't have it together basically, and why they haven't like knuckled down and honed in on their one particular niche. Well, some of you know, as my client Janet reflected back to me this morning, I have an entire course called You Are the Niche, like a mini course from way back. But I've been teaching the concept of You Are the Niche since 2014. I remember 2014 is when I first started to talk about that topic a lot. You could literally find old YouTubes and that sort of thing from me from way back then, where I was like, you are the niche. The thing that brings it all together is you being you. So how do you do this? How do you do this thing of being consistent with your content, with your sales, with your marketing, when your mind is just here, there, and everywhere, when you always have new ideas, when there's continually something coming out that seems like it's almost even contrary to what you did before, or maybe when you just feel like there's so much opportunity or possibility there in terms of what or could share that you can't even choose. How you do it is you hold yourself to a standard of being a certain type of entrepreneurial leader, which obviously you could define however you want, but I'll explain what I mean. And then you simply plop yourself in to those anchoring points of being that person. So for example, I'm the kind of business owner, I'm the kind of leader, I'm the kind of mentor and coach, I'm the kind of entrepreneur who communicates live with her audience frequently, because I'm the kind of person who is meant to pour forth a live message. Are you feeling me? Are you that kind of person? Now, stop thinking about what is trending right now on social media. Man, it's sweaty in this room. This room doesn't quite get the aircon. I gotta get it fixed on this side of the house. That's the issue. Are you the kind of, like, don't think about what's trending on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or anything, right? So stop thinking about, are we meant to do live content? Are we meant to curate and edit and filter our content? And like I saw somebody saying that this year on Instagram, what's going to be really working a lot better, iced black coffee, you guys, I recommend it. Iced espresso, actually. What's going to be working really well on Instagram apparently is really highly edited reels, like really professional content. I don't got no time for that. I don't want to have time for that. I'm not interested in that. It actually makes me feel like a little dangerous Australian spider that I had to kill yesterday that just shriveled away into nothingness. And I felt so sad for him, but I was more happy to not have this big hairy spider running around in my house. He wasn't actually that little, but he was little when he curled up. So I'm sorry about that to anyone that doesn't think you should kill spiders, but that's what happened. And I felt really bad as he curled up. But that's how I feel when I think about something like curating content, like creating really highly edited content. I theoretically wouldn't mind or like hate to have that kind of content about myself existing if somebody could somehow just supernaturally produce that without me having to do anything, which they could, and which I have previously had an entire videographer, yes, a whole human, not one part of him, an entire videographer. I previously had a videographer on staff for 30 hours a week, and he would do things like that. And it really didn't require much of me. Like sometimes I would do something for 30 seconds or something, but he would piece together previous stuff I did. And it's cool, but it's just not really what I'm here for. You know, like I'm here to pour out live content. That's part of me being me. It's actually an energizer and a fuel source for me. And historically, it also happens to be that when I just show up and share my live message for the day and I'm consistent with that, I consistently make millions of dollars a year in my business and beyond. And I consistently attract in the exact right people who I'm meant to work with. And I really don't fuss with any other so-called form of marketing or like lead gen or trying to make sure that I'm magnetizing in the right people. I don't even concern myself with that because I really couldn't even be bothered. It's just like sad making for me. It's going to shrivel me up like a dying spider. And I would rather just do my thing and be living my day and talking with my clients and being a mom and going to the gym and whatever. And then in between that, I would rather just pop on like blah, 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 blah before I go to the grocery store and buy food, which is what's going to happen after this. Like that is a way flowier vibe for me. And it also feels like what I'm meant to be doing. Do you know what I mean? So whether it's jumping on for a little live stream chat, whether it's some quick stories in the sauna or on your walk or whatever it is, whether it's writing blogs or emails or social media posts, it really should be that whatever your communication is, which is to say your messaging, which is to say your marketing, which is to say this is your primary method of selling and engaging and, you know, just letting people receive from you such that they would want to pay you, that your primary methodology of doing that is the thing that is natural for you, that feels right. It just makes sense. Pause. So good. So I started to say, like, I'm the kind of person who, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, should be doing live content. What kind of person are you? Are you the kind of person who, honestly, like, hand on your heart, the good Lord ordained it so himself, you should be creating highly curated, edited, professional, painstakingly 40 hours was spent on it, videos or reels for TikTok? Somebody maybe is that. I know a few people like that. I'm honestly like amazed by it. I am fascinated by it. I applaud it. I enjoy watching it. I have zero interest in doing it. And majority of my clients, like 999 out of 1,000 people that do my courses, do not want to know anything about that. But yet they will tell themselves they need to do that sort of stuff. I need to finally do that. That's the exact reason I hired a videographer and put them on team. And it was cool. I don't mind it. But it was actually a detraction, you know? It was like an energetic detraction. And I had this niggle the whole time, like, I know I'm meant to just be doing what I teach, which is go all in faster, harder, more relentlessly on you being you. So what do you do though? How do you make it make sense if you're the kind of person who doesn't seem to make sense? You change your mind a lot. You have a continual flow of ideas. You could easily be niching down on 25 different freaking topics. You need to remember that the niche is you. You're the thing that brings it all together. You get excited about something and then you don't necessarily want to follow through all the way. You feel like nauseated at most of the rules of online marketing or whatever you see trending or happening out there that you think you maybe should get better at doing. You tell yourself lies, woman, lies like, you know, well, if I really wanted my business to grow, then I would put some sort of serious, proper, polished, you know, structured thing in place so that people could really find me and opt in and subscribe. Honestly, I was saying to a client last week on a Zoom who was doing like a VIP day Zoom thing with me, I was saying it's almost as though people sometimes seem to think that when it comes to doing the structured, automated side of entrepreneurialism, that all of a sudden they better get their freaking pinstriped, like pin skirt suit out and put their glasses on and put their hair into a bun, which I just did for you on purpose. I don't have any glasses handy or I would put them on, and that they need to put their serious proper face on in order to do these certain elements of business. But actually, whether it's your systems, whether it's your automated email sequences, whether it's your Facebook ads, whether it's your day-to-day communication or your emails, or even something like a webinar or even an entire event or an in-person one, how it should be is a reflection of the highly creative, highly intelligent, highly discerning, supernaturally tapped in, rambly, chaotic, all over the place, can't get her sentences out straight person who you are, who happens to also have a knowledge and an expertise on a particular area. and maybe on a bunch of particular areas, and maybe you come along to teach about a core thing that is kind of like your main thing, but next minute you're just mouthing off about this other thing over here, and it is a godsend because that's what's coming through you. Do you hear me? So how you make it make sense and how you ensure that this business thing actually can consistently grow while you're here, there, and everywhere, and you suspect that you need somebody to like physically like lock you into the chair somehow sometimes in order for you to get things done. How you do that is you just anchor in touch points. I just call it anchoring in touch points. Like, okay, loosely, I'm going to go live this many times a week. I'm the kind of person who goes live regularly because I'm the kind of person who is meant to be communicating a live message. I write a daily blog because whether or not I feel like that, which I frequently don't, and on top of it, frequently don't have any like inspiration to write, but I know that when I choose to write, the inspiration comes. When I show up for the message shows up for me. I'm responsible beyond my own emotions, feelings, doubts, uncertainties, etc. I'm responsible to the message, and I'm responsible to the framework of the kind of leader I want to be, the kind of entrepreneur I want to be, and the kind of business that I believe I'm meant to build. So that means that if you know or you believe that you are meant to have a podcast, it just means you start to discipline and commit yourself to the fact that you now do. Guess what? You do now have a podcast. You do now record a podcast once a week. Oh, but I need to get clear on my topic and my description. No, you don't. No, you need to start recording a podcast once a week, and it can be about freaking soup for all I care. It's fine if you have a soup business. I'd love to know about it, as long as it's cold soup right now in this weather. Right? It doesn't matter. Just start talking. Just start recording. Adjust it as you go. You honestly could sit there for like 40 days and 40 nights trying to nail the perfect podcast description or the perfect about page or the perfect definite signature course that you're now apparently going to sell forever. No, you won't. As soon as you actually allow yourself into permission and to find your flow, you'll then change it. You'll change whatever it was anyway. It will morph itself into an entirely different thing. Because why? Because when you're in your mind and when you're trying to figure things out, and then when you're looking through the framework of what everybody else out there is doing, guess what happens? What happens is you create like a counterfeit version of what you're meant to be doing, or a stifled version, like surface based. There's no real life in it. It's probably good, it's probably great, it's probably well articulated, but it's not the fire and flow of you being you. So the only way the fire and flow that is meant to come through you can come out is when there's no filter or boundary put up as to what it should be, but there is a discipline or a commitment to like the framework of the thing that you're grounding in, right? So at the moment for January, for example, I'm back in a live stream flow. I didn't really live stream much in December. I kind of like ebb in and out of that, but I've committed to myself that I'm going to be going live all throughout January. So what that means is that loosely 3 or 4, probably max 5 times a week, I will go live, largely on Instagram and Facebook, but I am going to get a third tripod that doesn't break and do YouTube all at once across 3 phones, because I want to do it on the phone and not through the laptop, because you just look like a swamp monster when you go live through a laptop, is what I've experienced. So that's my commitment, right? But I don't sit there and plan out what am I going to talk about. I don't even know what I'm going to be selling for all of January. I just know what I'm selling right now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It just matters that I said that's what I'm going to do, so that's what I'm going to do. And literally I was talking to my client Jana before this and answering an audio, and I was giving her an example, and I was saying, like, after I answer you, I'm going to do a live stream, and I was giving an example that I have no idea what I'm going to talk about on my live stream, but I just know I'm going to do a live stream. And then because of something I said to her, I chose the title for this live stream, and now here we are. And I simply trust that when I show up for the message, God puts it into me. I don't need to concern myself with the words. He's just going to pop them right into my mouth, which, by the way, is one of my favorite verses in the Bible, where it literally says in Matthew, don't concern yourself with what you're going to say, because the Holy Spirit will tell you the thing at the appropriate time. Okay, so we tap in beyond our own human self. That's what we should be doing. It shouldn't be that we need to collect our notes, unless it is that you are an educator or a teacher where what you want to be doing in your business is collating and collecting and like regurgitating somebody else's expertise or knowledge, or even your own previous expertise or knowledge. If that's what you want to be doing, awesome. But most of us don't want to be doing that. If we're honest, we just kind of think we have to, or you kind of think you have to, or you kind of think you need to be figuring out things in advance, but you don't. You just need to commit to the containers and then fill the containers. Oh my gosh, I just got a great analogy. So let's say you got a bunch of lunch containers out, like lunch containers for the kids, that sort of thing, or lunch containers for yourself, I don't know. And then you just have a bunch of containers of all different shapes and sizes, and you just put them out, like, I don't know, on the table. and then you just have a big old jug of water, and then you just fill up the containers. Well, you're going to fill as many containers as what are there. So if I want like 4 big containers filled with water and 3 medium containers and 2 tiny containers and then a bunch of circle containers or something, then that's what I'll put on the table, and then I can fill them up with water. It's the same water, and I don't know which water is going into which container. I'm not saying like this container has to have a special magical kind of water and this container has to be prayed over in a certain way or whatever, right? I'm just like, these are the containers, water is going to go into them. They will be filled up because they are there. That is messaging and marketing in a nutshell. What are the containers? And then pour something freaking into it. Thank you, Lord. It doesn't matter. Trust and know that what comes through is what that person needed to hear today. This is only for you if you know you're that kind of leader, messenger, entrepreneur. If you're like, no, Kat, like I'm studying this one textbook from the 1800s that I need to understand every line of and then teach the exact same thing in the exact same way, off you go. Be on your way. Enjoy. But I'm talking to those who are meant to be pouring forth from an anointing. Yeah, and it's also a product of the fact that you have X many years, insert your age, of experience of living your life a certain way, of evolving, shifting, growing through things, of seeking God in a certain way, of continual revelatory moments that then naturally just come out of you because of who you are. So you don't need to be thinking about how to be who you are. And you're continually learning and evolving and growing, and new things are coming in. So they're therefore going to come out. So the containers are, I go live this often, I'm consistent on my stories, I write a blog every day because it's what's true for me to do. I know that writing is just a thing that I'm meant to be doing daily, and it's not even about you guys. It's not about my business. It's just what I'm meant to be doing. But it happens to be one of the most foundational parts of my business, etc. Does it make sense? So when you stop trying to make it make sense, I'm going to read you a line that I actually put in my blog yesterday. And this is such a good line that one of my clients sent back to me. She messaged it back to me. She was like, I love this line. I'm going to share it with you. It says, trusting in God's provision for me worked when I stopped trying to make it make sense. And I began to follow what I sensed, what I knew in my spirit. Believe me, when God says he provides, he does not mean so long as you shake that behind in just the right way to make it make sense in your world. So there has to be a handing over, yeah? There has to be a surrender piece. There has to be a decision. But I'm not going to be trying to figure this stuff out anymore, because the more I try to figure it out and make sure I'm doing it right and that it's clear and that it makes sense and that I've kind of, decided everything in advance, the more the life is just like squeezed right out of you. And then whatever you do manage to produce from that place is honestly just like, ugh. It really is. I'm sorry. It is what it is. It's dead. It has no real snap, crackle, or pop in it at all. To be honest with you, it's probably spectacular compared with most of the rest of the internet, because that's the kind of peoples that we are. But that doesn't mean that it's what was meant to come out of you. And that's exactly why you can still have a successful business, and yet you are just bored to tears and you're dying and crying on the inside because you know it's not what you're meant to be doing. The only way is to take the freaking, what's that expression? Throw off the freaking sails, tear down the bow, whatever, burn the ships. That one. It's the only way. Throw caution to the wind. Stop it. Just stop it. Anchor in the containers. What are the things that should be produced this year? A book, a podcast, consistent communication with your audience like this, or however you want to do it. A consistent email newsletter, a consistent blog, maybe consistently being on other people's podcasts or summits or what have you. Choose the containers, define the freaking containers, and then start pouring water all over the jolly place from the heavens. And trust that God is going to impart to you because of the fact that you seek him and that you listen and that you drop in and that you submit. You're going to be receiving and having imparted to you and transmitted through you whatever the freak was meant to come through. But you don't need to concern yourself with what it is. And by the way, this philosophy applies to your paid content as well. Define the containers and start pouring water in. Do you want to have a high-level mastermind? Decide that you do then. Don't just make it up. That's not what I mean. But decide that if you have that desire, that it's a true desire, and go pray about that, meditate on it, and simply start writing down or dropping in on what is shown to you. Adjust as you go. If it came out the first time where you look back at it the next day and you're like, I don't know about that, then just adjust it, shift it, but trust. Start a membership, start a podcast, create a course on random topic that came through your mind, because that's what's alive and burning inside of you right now, and you might as well just try it out for $99, because maybe a few people are going to buy, or a bunch of people, and then maybe a few of them naturally self-select themselves up into being your high-level private clients, because that's how I find it works. But as soon as you start over-planning the thing, overthinking the thing, trying to figure out the thing, trying to get clear on the thing, you lost the game already, baby. You became boring. it is what it is. We couldn't actually become boring, but boring for us, which is to say like supernaturally profound and nobody can understand what on earth you're doing for the rest of them. So it is what it is. Simon says, wow, I did something just like that. No doubt, because you're that kind of person. Well done. Now I want to know what it is. So what else? What else do I want to say to you? I'm going to read this line again because it's a good line. This is from yesterday's blog. Trusting in God's provision for me worked when I stopped trying to make it make sense, and I began to follow what I sensed, what I knew in my spirit. Believe me, when God says he provides, he does not mean so long as you shake that behind in just the right way to make it make sense in your world or in the world. So I want you to think about what are you doing right now or thinking that you should be doing in order to make things work, and where you're getting the so-called idea of sense from is from an industry or a people group or your own previous self or whatever, but it's definitely not from God, and nobody said you should be doing that. That blog was powerful, yesterday's blog, by the way. If you guys missed it, you should go read it. It was honestly like it shook me to the core, that blog. It's at the Katrina Ruth show .com/of God. The Katrina Ruth show.com /of God. If it's of God, you cannot overthrow it, was the title. So that's my secret. Stop trying to make it make sense, but do anchor in the containers, because a lot of you flowy people out there who are very supernaturally discerning, etc., and you really have a powerful gift to share, the bit you're missing and why you're not making the money you should be making is because you've got the flow and the discernment and the dropped in bit, but you don't have any freaking structure. You're like a river with no riverbed or river walls or whatever it's called. Like if there's no bed of the river, where the frick is the water going? Where is it going? Okay. So that's the bit that you're probably missing. You need a place for the water to go. The flow needs to be directed. Decide your containers, choose them, anchor them in, change them every freaking day if you want. That bit doesn't matter, but just have somewhere that you're going to pour that thing into that actually God is pouring through you. And part of it is deciding what kind of business you want to be running here. I'm the kind of business that is open for business daily. Imagine your local pizza shop was shutting and opening its doors every day based on whether or not they felt they'd been too salesy the week before. My business is open for business every single freaking day, which means I'm selling every single day. I'm not sitting there shutting the doors because I was selling last week. That's just freaking weird. This business is open for business every single day. This is the kind of business that has a multitude of different products. I don't subscribe to some kind of rule that I should have one product or 4 key products and they should be organized in a nice little tier, because I would be bored to tears. And it's rude. Frankly, it's rude because God is pouring forth a thing through me all the time. What am I going to do? I'm going to keep it stuffed up in here and not share it with you? That's just going to ruin my digestion. It's going to be disgusting and it's not fair to you. So you've got to really acknowledge who you are. And if you're somebody who came here to pour forth, then stop trying to identify with a group of people who are not that people and who are what I fondly, because I am fond, call the paint by numbers class of the entrepreneur world. That's a different people group. They have different gifts and skills that we definitely don't have. We can admire it, we can be fascinated, we can be magnetized. Doesn't mean we need to jump in the cage. All right? Or vice versa, by the way. So you need to know who you are and just be like, that's how it is for me. And I love people who do it a different way, but that's not how I want to do it. Because it's going to make me shrivel up like a sad little dying spider, like we discussed earlier. Okay? Ownership and permission. It's the biggest piece that is holding people like Coach back, even those who are making really good money. Because there's still a level where they're thinking that if they were really like the proper entrepreneurs, they would have got polished and proper and settled down. So where is your flow meant to go? All right, here's how I can help. Elevated Expectation is going to close its doors in 3 days. This is a signature course. It's a brand new money course. It's my first God-led money course. Sort your money stuff out once and for all and allow the flow that should be. Despite that it's a signature course, because God led me to do so, I have basically taken 70% of the cost of it on board myself, which means it is significantly less than I have ever in my 18 years online charged for a signature course before. So I just feel like that's how it's meant to be for that. That's what it is. You've got 3 days left to join. It's priced kind of like a mini course or a challenge would be, but we are going deep over the next 5 weeks. It's time to sort your money stuff out once and for all. This is a God thing. This does mean I'm teaching from a perspective of biblical truth around money, around overflow, around stewardship, around receiving, around provision, and around simply having your eyes on the path that they should be on, and around expecting overflow, expecting that God does want to surprise and delight you, expecting that there is a land of milk and honey that he wants to take you into, and understanding how that actually applies to the day-to-day of your business and money, including keeping your eyes where they should be, including attending to your money properly, and including treating the fact that your creative flow and what you're doing should not be hinged upon, is this going to work or keep me safe with money? Because that is not where our safety with money comes from. So this is going to be hugely expensive and freeing for you creatively, as well as really going to give you a kick up the butt that you need around expectation around money. Stop hiding from it, stop sticking your head in the sand, and the whole confusing issue of am I allowed to be rich or wealthy or whatever, we're dealing with that as well. All right, so this is already off and running. This course began live this week. There are 3 modules currently waiting for you. There's about 20 modules in all for this course. And it is a live course, which means that when you sign up today, you're going to get live access to the group. You can watch the replay of this morning's approximately 80-minute class. You're going to have pre-work. You're going to have deep dive journaling work. There's belief stuff. There's practical stuff. There's all the stuff. It is the do not miss money course of 2024. And of course, you would be able to purchase it down the track home study from me, but you will never again be able to participate live because I don't run my courses live on repeat. I run them one time, and there are sometimes exceptions to that, but this is not one of that. Okay, so it's at thekatrinaruthshow.com/elevated expectation. There were previously a couple of options for how you could join this course, because I previously had it priced higher, and I had the price that it's currently set at as being only like course content and not live access. If you saw that, don't get confused. None of that exists anymore. It's only one option. It's the live option when you join at the discounted price. The lowest price, which is the only price now available to join at, you're getting the live course, you're getting access to everything. So doors close Sunday. thekatrinaruthshow.com/elevated expectation. Have a beautiful rest of the day or evening, wherever you are in the world. And do not forget, life is now. Press play.